So, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I'm Ophelia, and I'm going to be the host for today. I'm a writer, a nonprofit leader who has experienced firsthand the power of books, writing, and storytelling when it comes to changing lives. I currently serve as one of Accra Literacy's board members. And on behalf of our board, volunteers, the readers, and community partners, thank you so much for joining us today. Before we begin, I'd like to share a little bit about who we are. By who we are, I mean Accra Literacy and why gatherings like this matter. Accra Literacy was established in 2022 with a dual mission to advance literacy within underserved and under-resourced communities in both New York City as well as Ghana, and while also creating meaningful spaces for storytellers and writers to share their work with the public. Accra Literacy was founded because we believe underserved and under-resourced people often on the margins of society deserve access to literacy resources and have a story worth telling. Today's gathering is a reflection of this belief. We believe literacy and storytelling are deeply connected. Literacy equips us with the tools to navigate the world, while storytelling allows us to make meaning of our experiences, preserve our histories, and imagine new possibilities for ourselves and our communities. Over the last few years, we've had the privilege of reaching hundreds of individuals across Ghana and New York City through literacy and storytelling resource giveaways, educational programming, digital resources, workshops, community events, research initiatives, and opportunities for writers to share their works. Most recently, we concluded a 6-month period poverty study across 4 schools in Ghana. And through this initiative, we provided monthly menstrual hygiene kits for more than 70 girls while collecting data on the relationship between access to menstrual health resources and educational outcomes. This project reflects our belief that literacy and educational success cannot be separated from the broader barriers that students face every day. Here in New York, we currently operate our college and job readiness program, providing free support with resumes, cover letters, college essays, and professional development. We're also piloting something called a Read a Book, Share Your Take Station program, which is an initiative that is designed to strengthen reading comprehension, critical thinking, written expression, and creativity among young readers through interactive engagement with books. And we're only getting started. So looking ahead, Accra Literacy is working toward piloting writing workshops for writers, increasing literacy programming for children and young adults, and building a community library and resource center in Accra, Ghana, which will be a space dedicated to stories, learning, creativity, and connection. Now, this reading series was created to shed light on emerging writers, foster meaningful dialogue, and build community through storytelling. Today's theme, migration, identity, belonging, invites us to consider the many ways we move through the world, how we understand ourselves, where we find home, connection, and community, and so much more. And before we begin, just a few house rules. So firstly, we kindly ask that you silence or turn off your cell phones. Secondly, we ask that you remain attentive and respectful while readers are sharing their work. And please hold side conversations until the event concludes. Also, feel free to applaud and support our readers after each reading. If taking photos or videos, please do so respectfully and without disrupting the program. And lastly, most importantly, help us maintain a welcoming, inclusive, and affirming space for everyone in attendance. And finally, I know my speech is long. Finally, if today's event resonates with you and you'd like to support Accra Literacy's work, there's several ways to do so. You can make a donation. You can donate supplies such as books, technology, menstrual health products, or other educational materials, or support our community library initiative in Ghana. You can also purchase merchandise or volunteer your time or simply help us spread the word about our mission. And you can learn more about us by visiting accralit.com and also joining our social media community at Accra_lit. And definitely thank you all so much for being here and for believing in the power of literacy and storytelling to build stronger communities. So now let's begin. Thank you. So I'm going to introduce our first reader, who is Miss Ivy Scott. So Ivy Scott is an Afro-Caribbean writer and storyteller based in New York. A 2026 Perry Plus Poetry Fellow and Cave Canem Regional Workshop participant, she was recently named a finalist for the Brooklyn Poets Fellowship. Her works explore faith, diaspora, and ancestry, and is forthcoming in Mosaic, Obsidian Lit, and Vagabond City. Softly bilingual and proudly left-handed, Ivy shares her work online at It's Ivy Scott. So with a round of applause, please let's welcome Miss Ivy Scott.
Hi, everyone. This is very fun for me. Thank you all so much for coming. What I love about readings is that I can share a little bit about each poem, which I don't get to do when they just appear before you in print. But I won't say much about this first poem, which is just called One Poem. One poem to open doors, to grant scholarships, to make all things possible. One poem made of magic words like presto and I love you, and your visa has been approved. Poem to be the master key to every vault that has denied me, every teller who said with unmasked pity, you're not quite what we're looking for. Poem to reject all rejection letters, like looking forward to it, see you on Monday. Like pleasure doing business with you, pleasure to be a business to you, pleasure being in your business, pleasure making it my business to go where I have no business being, where they insisted I could not go because I was not ready and perhaps never would be. Poem to automate my earnings so I am always thriving and ensuring the survival of all who follow me. Poem to buy my lottery tickets, housing lottery, visa lottery, and everywhere else I need to get in just to be. Poem to beat back the cancer scare, put her in remission and keep her there. Poem to bring my grandmother closer to God so that when she dies, she goes somewhere. They said they need an all sizes fit one poem to help me or set me free. And I told them there aren't enough words in the world to write the kind of miracle I need. So there's going to be 7 poems in total. The second one is called Melissa. It is about Hurricane Melissa, which hit Jamaica last fall, and it is written for my friend Rushane. The waves washed my hospital away, inland in a fury. Bit down on the roof, ripped through bricks, scooped soil underfoot from the foundation and sent it pounding down fresh shorelines. The waves were hungry that day, eating past their bedtime, beyond their borders, migrating ravenously, so I can no longer stand on the land I was born, but must swim. Even this, a challenge. Spot of first feeble breath, weakly sealed by corrugated tin. Swiftly shredded, shedding human life, classic Category 5. Whole neighborhoods erased, swept downstream, far from where they belong, drift along down my street. Scraps like shrapnel threaten to slice thigh meat, lacerate the leathered skin of rescue teams helicoptered in. I must cede halls of ancestral memory, home of healing, loss, and relief, to soggy paths of destruction, far as weeping eyes can see. This third poem is called Midwestern Tropic, and it is about the year I spent living in Missouri. There's no winter in the tropics, and so every summer, anywhere could be Kingston to me. I plant a palm tree beside the Mississippi River and tell my neighbors it's the Caribbean Sea. Kidnap fistfuls of sand from the nearby construction site, scatter them at my feet. Kick off my sandals, wiggle toes until I hit concrete. Stand beside the lock, dam and all, marvel at the majesty of Dunn's finest falls. I turn a blind eye easily to belly-up fish, merely a catch of the day gone wrong, pure coincidence. I eat fried catfish and groats like they're native to my shores, close one eye, then the other, and yell, this tilapia is delicious. In the absence of a good swim, I do what summer in the tropics requires. Yell Lord of Mercy when the trucks pass by, spraying clouds of red silt from nearby quagmires. Buy a single bunch of sweet something from the man roadside, don thick denim despite wavy pavement, and commence my afternoon ride. Fan myself with newspaper and wait for thunder or close of day to tug at thermometer's edges, however briefly, and sweep the heat away. The next two poems are what I call diaspora poems, so they're just sort of about the spreading of people over time. This one is called Black Panther Battalion, Tank 761, June 1944, and it is written after Clarence Young and his grandnephew Marvin. We were told a colored soldier cannot think fast enough to fight in armor. They must forget. The feet of Brother Henry Box Brown, lore and legend, fled their very fields to freedom 4 ago. Or Cousin Lonnie, loyal sharecropper with a dream of fiscal liberty, whose quick thinking with a hot fan saved the cotton harvest from blight. We were told our minds and steps are slow, our reflexes sloth and sottish. They must forget. The ones they couldn't catch. Necks nimbly slipped the noose and set on swiftly west. They balk at C.J. Walker, Herndon, and Hamilton, call them Blue Gum, Prince of Darkness, Upper 10. Conjure up desperate exceptions, except those folk are kin. We were told we lack requisite to serve our country, must train up hard to meet their lowest bar. They must forget. We are veterans of combat, suffering and growing back, survival to the nth degree, all that is needed to set men free. They blunt their eyes to our purple hearts, blind to black power, deaf to liberation songs. They must forget. The war we've battled all along, to be at home in this land we did not ask for, yet pride to belong. They must forget, or hold in ignorance, bloodied by rotten bliss, the screaming truth that we were made for so much more than this. Trace. We are overdue to confess that pure blood means nothing. A mere 2,000 years pulls us by our ankles along trade routes rubbed out, ancestral famines leaving not a whisper in the pit of our stomachs. Where is the string? Tin can to my ear, where are the creaking bows of sturdy ships, the snap of shackles, straining stretched sinew, stripping supple skin? The foolish mistake our continent for country, but the wise understand that for all her multitudes, some routes are untraceable, some pathways erasable, some roads lead eternally to an unknowable home. This is the second to last poem, and I actually wrote this poem at Poets House, so thank you, Poets House. It's called Nightcrawlers, and it is what we call an ekphrastic poem. So it is written after a painting called Nightlife that was done by a poet, a black poet named Archibald Motley Jr., and this painting was done in response to the famous Edward Hopper painting, Nighthawks, for any of you who might have seen it. Nightcrawlers. What is the opposite of lonely? Or the inverse of pale huescape, slim array of neutrals and clean lines to suggest the simplicity of white life. Fedora brims pulled low in the village, diner but no greasy spoon, gin on the rocks, vodka straight up, in search of a dime, life's biggest worry, the war overseas, but here you are with a dame. What is the opposite of stillness? My Harlem Renaissance is heavily pigmented. Every lush, warm color brought to life, like the tropics done come up north. We mix our whiskey with Pepsi and our rum with everything. Time and bodies make motion, liquor smooth and dark like skin, bump and grind inhibition to a halt. The sun melts into a softer star, trumpeters wail jazz into ink sky. Complexities of colored life spilling outside our lines, and those who call it heathen just wish they could do it like we. We are the opposite of empty, and you are overdue to set yourself free. This last poem is for my mom. It's called I Grew Up in My Mother's Childhood. Running down the gully in the summer heat, splinters in our toes and cactus prickles on our fingers, picking cattails and mangoes, learning that pineapples are bromeliads, and how to spot a ripe orange perfect for daddy to peel. I grew up in my mother's childhood, walking on the pipe over the saguaros, rusted paint peeling onto our soles, cartwheeling until we were too old, too inhibited, too afraid. Captured by Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys and naughty Amelia Jane. I grew up in my mother's childhood, an in the dirt kid, a sleepaway camp, treehouse, pillow fort kid, a bun and cheese and the hurricane kid, who knew to tape up all the windows and buy extra matches and not to flush the toilet after dark. Eventually, I would want for Disney Channel and Teen Nick creep up in the adults' room after sleep snuck up to sneak a late-night Skype call or an episode of The Sweet Life on Deck. But for a few precious years, I grew up in my mother's childhood, a daughter like my own grandmother's, far from the things that would try to trouble us, in a big house, on a big hill, nestled in the grass like a clay cocoon. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Ivy, for the moving, textured, nostalgic, everything is so versatile. I love all of it. Thank you. Our next writer would be Arlie Guzman. And just to tell you a little bit about Arlie Guzman is a queer essayist who grew up along the Tijuana-San Diego border. They earned a degree in creative writing and literatures of the world from the University of San Diego, and an MFA in creative nonfiction from Columbia University. A 2024 Kweli Journal Emerging Writer Fellow and 2023 Tin House alum. Their work has appeared in the Cincinnati Romance Review and Kweli Journal. By day, Arlie works as a children's book editor. By night, they write essays exploring multicultural identity, intergenerational relationships, and queerness. Their work can be found on their Substack, Masa Madre. With a round of applause, let's welcome Arlie.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. I'm going to be reading a lyrical essay about the Garita de Otay. It's called The Border That Raised Me. La Línea is border. Its thick stripe enveloping you in a forest of yellow. Yellow poles, yellow speed bumps, yellow paint poured over cracking concrete. Yellow dandelions that sometimes grow amongst fissures. It's a barrier that keeps immigration officers towing at northern edge, almost vampirically, as they instruct you where to move your car or warn the benders to stay on the other side. It's a portal in the shape of a small metal plate that reads United States of America on one side, Estados Unidos Mexicanos on the other, with the vertical line that separates the two now faded to copper from how children lay their palms on it, fingers stretch out wide and legs as far apart as possible just so they can say, Mira, mama, I'm in two places at the same time. Young minds still borderless because they believe themselves to be all-encompassing. La Línea's river, its water slow to fall. It serpentines, bifurcates, taking over the first couple miles of the city. Find its beginning and resist the temptation to cut the line through the exit by the car wash Rapidito, where the police will lift the tape if you slip 100 pesos into their eager palm. Some days you'll find it at the Hospital Infantil de las Californias, where once as a volunteer you had to digitize 3 boxes carrying the files of the children who didn't make it. And they were nothing but names to you, but you still broke into sobs as soon as your parents picked you up. Or by the baseball field, where sometimes you'll find the Toros playing their first inning, and the crack of the bat will remind you of the time your Tio Callito took you to your first ball game and told you to always root for the Dodgers, never for the Astros. Or by the movie theater that used to be a Cinema Star until it was bought out and turned into a Cinepolis, where you shared your first kiss with the person you thought would be your last love, and now it's just an empty marquee towering over a parking lot covered in weeds. Or the McDonald's on the Boulevard Industrial, where you can follow its course through its ebb and flows for hours, and to and across the border, where you will immediately find another McDonald's, an American one this time. La Linea is art museum. If you look to your right, you'll find the mile-long mural stretching all across the pedestrian lane, most of it already buried under tag, under tag, under tag, art elbowing art for space. Dreamy Calafia surrounded by smiling faces, capturing the arid colors of the desert, and intersped with the bold whites and yellows and blacks of drinking space paint. Now, if I may direct you away from the wall for a second, to your left you'll find dozens of hand-painted signs advertising the coquitas, tostilocos con mangos, tamales de lote. Look closer still, and as you're on the verge of crossing, you'll be sent off with yellow poles peppered in stickers, merch for a local skateboard shop, for the queer coffee shop a few blocks away, for psychics promising to cure mal de ojo, a mosaic of the city you're leaving behind, its dreamers and its daredevils, its outcasts and its prophets. And in case you were wondering, yes, you exit through the gift shop. La Linea is shopping mall. It's microcosm of demand and supply, of entrepreneurs who have only the strength of their bodies and the sharpness of their wits to keep their families afloat. For the early risers waiting in line before sunrise to go to work or school, come the restaurateurs with tamales rojos prepped by the whole family on Sunday night, warm and steamy until they reach your hand. There's the art curators who sell artesanías at an upcharge, knowing that it's just a dent in the paycheck of turistas gringos who will still haggle for their ceramic piggy banks. And when you're about to cross, here comes the storytellers, the artists and the downtrodden, singing a ranchera for $1, $2 for school books for the child on their hip, urging you to care about their stories, to listen to their art. High above everyone else, towering above us on the billboards, there is the one selling while disembodied, incorporeal, and somehow still looking down on the rest. The immigration lawyers and the plastic surgeons with their canvas faces faded and bleached under the sun instead of freckled and tanned into a deep mahogany. The real estate agents urging you to buy property in Baja. It's so affordable. La Linea is hallowed ground, speck in a network of graveyard. It was only a few years ago that you could miss your exit on the Boulevard Bellas Artes and find yourself face to face with 5,105 wooden crosses lined up against the rusty corrugated steel wall, labeled Felipe de los Santos, labeled Olivia Cruz, labeled No Identificado. Now a new wall stands huge in its place, and their memories render like their bodies, wood chips in the desert. It was only a few months ago that your grandfather died, pushing 90 and surrounded by the family he had to leave behind. His body alive and safely returned to you rather than lost underwater. His body alive to find his children grown into mothers, engineers, and alcoholics. His mind somewhere back in the San Joaquin Valley, the phantom itch of the cotton seeds unbearable on his fingers. On your first day at your new job in New Jersey, you transfer to the path at 34th Street. You settle into your natural rhythm of border crossing until you hear your ears pop and your body recoils at its nonchalance to crossing a river. La Linea is boundaries trespassed. How many hours can they make you wait to go to work to visit your family? 2, 3, 6? How many more questions can they ask when the driver's skin is deep brown? 2, 3, 12? Can they mock the clothes you're wearing and force you to reply with a smile? Can they comment on your haircut at the checkpoint where you're still a teenager, say you looked prettier before, and when you remain quiet, slither their head toward the car window until you can feel their hot breath on your face and say, nice girls usually say, you're welcome, you know? Can they, while in secondary inspection, holding your passport in their hands, tell you wistfully and with barely contained glee that one of these days the crossing is going to close down and all of you Mexicans are going to have to find jobs in your own country and stop being a drain in American society? Nobody has died in this river, but it doesn't mean we're not drowning. La Linea is weather forecast, its greatest climate in the world. For 3 hours, you will be standing there, sharing the summer with the Chicano in a Dodgers hat and Lakers shirt, the abuelita fanning herself with a handmade fan, the girl in a tank top with a broken iPhone, the boy eating a chamoyada from a plastic cup, the boy eating a chamoyada from a plastic cup, the boy eating a tojuino from a plastic cup, the man not drinking a beer from a paper bag, the woman fanning herself with her hand, the bottle blonde in shorts and Coach sneakers, the bottle blonde in short and stilettos, the ranchero sweating through his flannel shirt and tank top, Oh, the girl in a tank top with a broken iPhone, the man in a tejana, the man in a tejana, the woman drinking a 2-liter water bottle of aguaciel, the girl in a tank top with an intact Android, the abuelita fanning herself with an electric fan. Next to us, 720 cars with their AC on. La Línea is water lilies. These words are the easel that will plunge us into its scenery from twilight to dusk. When the morning is still painting the skies pink and lavender, the sunlight will sometimes shine through the checkpoint arches and cast a refracted glow, a reminder of why it's called El Otro Lado. Take us to the sweltering summer days when the exhaust of thousands of cars gathered will make the sky ripple and the brutalist architecture of the checkpoints will sway like a mirage in the desert. When nighttime falls, we'll watch together the constellation of car lights in white and red, and every time a pair crosses past the checkpoint and zigzags through the maze that follows it, speeding away into the highway like a shooting star, we'll close our eyes and make a wish for things to be different. La Línea is oral history coming from the mouth of your neighbors, your radio station, your beloveds. Because before there was a garita de Otay, there was a scattering of businesses and parking lots overrun with weeds. But that was 30 years ago, but it can be 30 years ago because it's older than you and you have never known a world without the garita de Otay. That's how you grow up. And once upon a time, you didn't even need passports. Your crumpled birth certificate would do. And you vaguely remember that. And once upon a time, crossing the border in 20 minutes wasn't unusual. Then there was 9/11 and you thought the world was ending. And your mom is now taking you to school in the mornings because your dad has to be in line earlier because the wait times have doubled and tripled. And then there was the migrant caravan, and you were so far away, but rooting to run into them someday in the country they dreamed to be. But what happened instead was a new barbed wire fence, a couple dozen German shepherds, and a generalized mistrust from the residents. And every year you come back, the Garita de Otay feels exponentially more militarized, and you fear that in a few decades, when the history is coming out of your own mouth, you'll have to say, once upon a time, this place was filled with rancheras sung from the chest, and bugambilias so fragrant you could smell them as soon as you roll your window, and nieves de limon so vibrant they turn your tongue chartreuse. It was almost beautiful. La línea is liminal space. It's oxymoron. It's our de este lado también hay sueños, or ni de aquí ni de allá, our no sabían que éramos semillas. It's line that was meant to be horizontal, a barrier, a border, and instead became known for being vertical, for encroaching into its neighboring city until it became its own ecosystem. Renamed America always first, United States with its manifest destinies, and made it into El Otro Lado, the flip side, a coin with its two faces ever spinning. United States and Estados Unidos Mexicanos, joy and violence, pride and shame, is the downfall of its own mythos. Look, motherlands, I'm two places at the same time.
Thank you so much for the timely, compelling, and moving piece. Our next reader would be Philip Elliott. And just to tell you a little bit about him, Philip Elliott is a Brooklyn-based interdisciplinary artist and educator, a regional Cave Canem Fellow, Wild Seeds Retreat alumnus, and former guest poet at the National Black Writers Conference. He currently serves as an artist in residence at Ande Arte. His work has been featured at venues including the Solomon R. Guggenheim Museum, at Sobs, and Nublu. I hope I'm saying that right. He also co-wrote a couple L's for the Emmy-nominated documentary Personal Statement. His poetry appears or is forthcoming in Mosaic, Hey Young Writer, Down in the Dirt, Manic World Magazine, and Good Savoir? Yeah? Per his own words, if you Google Eli Brooklyn, you'll find something beautiful. And so with a round of applause, let's welcome Philip Elliott.
I feel like I could probably just talk really loud. I might just do that. Thank you for the intro. Good to be in the house of the Lord. Also good to be in the house of poetry. This first piece, I haven't shared it. It's my first time. A little nervous, but more excited than anything. Community chest. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. All I wanted was a chance on the board. A little corner to build up from. But the dice don't roll the same on every block. Snake eyes without the rattle. Policing with patience. A casual glance and a genuine grin. His weapon stays holstered. He pulls out his smile. Instead, let me off with just a warning. You look just like my nephew. Stay out of trouble. Get out of here. Next roll, reports of suspicious activities, higher crime rates, increased patrols. Where are you coming from? You fit the description. Do you have anything on you that will hurt me? Coin-appointed lawyer. I suggest you plead out. Straight to jail. Outside the liquor store, green sprinkles of shattered glass, water bottles of apple juice, a dented chest with loose locks, brown smatterings, smeared neon graffiti, hiding the emptiness inside. No generational wealth, only the gleam of abandoned scratch-offs. Every corner of property already purchased. Cool. Nice and neat. This piece is called No Phoenix Here. It's just me reflecting on my time using trains. I've been living in Brooklyn for all my life. Silver train cars like dirty forgotten paper clips, unable to hold it together. A small circle holds the white capital F against an orange background. Debrina Kwam was startled by accelerants and then ignited by ignorance. Smoke slithering out of the F train in Coney Island. Unable to stand clear of the city once the doors closed. In the first car, tan suits pull newspapers from leather briefcases. Those jeans are awfully tired, and the holes aren't aesthetics. Garbage bags with frayed strings stuffed and stretched, objects spilling out every other station. The end of service abrupt. The brakes screech all the way to the eardrum. I took a trip on the F train in middle school to see the New York Aquarium. I remember the turtles trotting and the jellyfish pulsing like electric balloons. Some fish lay at the bottom perfectly still, in between death and oceans. The way they were meant to swim, impossible. How much dignity can a creature have while it sinks? Water heavy as dirt. I thought the train was just a ride from one spot to the next. The panic of pigeons pecking at the last pieces of subway and crumbled wax paper, their eyes cocked to the side in judgment, their confidence mistaken for eagles. Hopping the turnstiles before subway surfing on the F train, air ones on slick metal. They fall off easily as raindrops or teardrops, collide with a beam overhead much faster than the speed of regret. Parents clutching portraits, begging other kids to not make that choice. But the choice between invisibility and being celebrated isn't difficult. The comments are anonymous and the video repeats. The doors open. People get on, people leave, some people don't. Can't find a way to make it stop. No phoenix amongst these crumpled cigarette butts. These ashes are not beautiful. I got like maybe two more. I'm keeping it with the time. Under 9 minutes. Got you. Empty living room. You would think when someone anoints you to campaign for them, when it's time for your husband to be deported, they would show you some love. Pardon your ignorance. I don't hate you. Time has a tendency to peel and reveal thin veils. When you breathe in betrayal, there's an astounding quiet when you exhale. Ads, glitching your empathy. Uninstall due process to upgrade your freedom. Claiming inferior humans deserve less dignity. History always has more spit when it repeats itself. History so revolting and ugly, why not inject Botox until there are fine people on both sides? Didn't know the exhibition of cruelty was interactive. I thought these restraints only fit on the wrists of strangers. The ache of one less pair of shoes after the keys turn. I got like two more. 2/3 of a wing and a prayer. It's like my origin story. It goes hard. All right. A clean-shaven black private from Brooklyn kneels on a single knee at an army base in Hawaii, with a pencil-thin Irish woman from Indiana blushing. Volcanoes holding only ash and potential. A statistical anomaly divided by a chance leaves only a miracle that I am here to wonder anything at all. Pressure pinning my shoulders, clicks my rotator cuff. In therapy, rules around certain words triggered consequences. White latex gloves holding brown clipboards, 72 hours supervising, prodding, processing. Prayer had no rules or scheduled times, no guarantees or promises to follow up, a privacy beyond confidential. I whispered some prayers. Others I sobbed through clenched teeth. Does an angel with 2/3 of a wing still ascend, or are they trapped in circles? Bowing my head made my spine straighter. A lot of times I write poetry, it's all sad, working through various trauma and big feelings and stuff. I'm gonna leave you with something positive, something joyful. Be happy. Ooh. There's a quote from a psychologist, Mary Pfeiffer. I read it, resonated with me deeply. I read it, then I read my thing. Ooh. Social change is a million individual acts of kindness. Culture change is a million subversive acts of resistance. I say that like your individual choices that you make on the daily when you're interacting with people, they have a lot of weight. I'm also going to sing a little bit. Ooh. One dream goes, but another one coming. Even if it don't work out, we can still thank the sun. Gotta hustle, shuttle, anything but struggle. Losses feel so big, a little wins so subtle. A single man, a single choice. That can be the difference. It only takes a single voice. And I could use a witness. I could use a partner. If you don't spread the light, then it only gets darker. Sitting with this joy, and I need to get it out. Different things I've seen won't leave with bigger doubts. My destiny is waiting, and I'm sure it gets announced. Showing love don't cost a dime. It's as simple as a thank you and a little bit of time. Even if it gets tough, I promise you'll be fine. One dream goes, but another one coming. Even if it don't work out, we can still thank the sun. Gotta hustle, shuttle, anything but struggle. Losses feel so big, the little wins so subtle. I'm gonna leave it there. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Philip, for the multi-layered performance. That was fabulous. So our next and fourth reader, and after Eileen, will be taking a 5 to 6 minute break so everyone can, move about a little bit. But before that, let's give Eileen the stage, and I'll tell you a little bit about Eileen. Eileen Basses is a visual artist and poet whose creative practice explores identity, place, and social justice. After retiring from a career teaching elementary school art in northern New Jersey, she discovered a passion for poetry and has since become an active member of literary communities at Poets House, the 92nd Street Y, and beyond. Her experiences teaching immigrant students and children of immigrants continue to inform her work. Eileen has received fellowships from Yaddo, I hope I'm saying that correctly, and the Atlantic Center for the Arts, and is the author of the poetry collection Among Sinners and Saints, as well as the chapbooks Advice for Travelers and The Other Side of the Mirror. With a round of applause, let's welcome Eileen Basses.
Hi there. Well, is this good? Thank you, Accra Literary, for inviting us, and thank you, Poets House. Poets House is very special to me. It's where I took my first poetry workshop, so I'm eternally grateful to Poets House. Advice for travelers. When you leave your country, put your papers in a plastic bag, then zip it shut. When you leave your country, hide money in your shoe or in your underwear. When you leave, put crackers in your pocket and an extra shoelace too. And you better know how to swim and be ready to walk all day. Learn to say when and why. Learn how to move your tongue. Learn how to shape your lips. Remember a blanket when you leave, for nowhere will be soft. When you leave your country, your thoughts will sift like flour through a sieve. And when you leave your country, your name may curl inside your ribs and tap like insects on a window pane at night. Leave your country, And you'll find rooms and streets of children, but they may not be your own. When you leave, you may study your open palm and wonder if any future's hiding there. When you leave, you may even lose your body, and then what becomes of you? Leave, and you may find that no one tells the truth. And truth is sitting on a chair that wobbles on 3 legs. And even after you leave, your country's hard and stubborn, a tiny seed stuck between your teeth. And you can't tell if the taste is bitter or if you're tasting something sweet. Alternative questions for new citizens. Will this country dress you in its history and braid stories in your hair? Can you put happiness under your pillow or have it sleep beside your feet? Is a future waiting on the other side of every door? Can freedom keep you warm, or is it light as drifting mist, so you never see where it ends and how the sky begins? So a lot of my poems are inspired by things that I read in the news. So this one has, after the title, a little quote from a news story. Embody. The New York Times, October 24th, 2019. London. The 39 people found dead in a refrigerated truck trailer in southeast London. We don't know much. The authorities said they were Chinese. Later, police said they were from a village in Vietnam, probably seeking work in factories or construction or nail salons in Britain. We don't know much, but I can imagine. Polyester and cotton shirts, lipstick in a back pocket, a wallet, creased photos, cigarettes, long hair and short, bristles trailing across a chin, blemished skin, or smooth cheeks curving to dip around silent, open lips. We don't know if one man told his wife that money would arrive soon, or if one woman thought about the smell of her baby's hair, or if anyone remembered laughter spilling like water from a glass. So this is another news-inspired poem that's very recent. Minnesota newsfeed. Can you forget yesterday, or last week, or a month or two, the year? Yes, turn the page to tomorrow. Stay on empty. Keep it quiet so you can sink into the hours after dinner and try to think less. Today can loosen its grip if you're lucky, if you're quiet, if you're where it's warm, if your stomach's full. Forget the smashed minutes, the dented door, the broken glass, the puddle on the seat, the bullet holes, the proud disdain, the hooded curse. Don't think of babies or toddlers, brother, sister, daughter, a mother, a father, when you're washing the dinner plates, when you're brushing your hair, when you turn off the bedroom lamp and watch the minutes glow. Forget why you're angry. Forget why you mourn. Questions for America. Is that you, America, in a hallway, or hurrying down subway stairs, or ambling through the dollar store, credit card in hand? Are you standing at a bus stop, or pulling up beside me at a stoplight and driving off before the light turns from red to green? And is this all yours, America? Can you hold it in your hands? Towers and strip malls, shingles and vinyl siding, and garbage mounds black as crows pecking at the bags. And how about the sky, America? and rivers hemmed with bridges and shores split by railroad tracks. And I wonder how you're feeling, America. If your head hums, if your belly's empty, if you need a drink, a nibble, a man-sized meal. Taste me, America, my salty sweat, my sweet perfume, my sticky crumbs. Will you break me with a snap like knuckles cracking? Or whisper sweet sleep tight and pull the covers up? Because I wonder if you dream of me. And maybe you're wandering in a tunnel, cold as doubt's fingers resting on your neck, and you can't see a beginning or know which way to go. So tell me if you're still breathing, America. Let me hold a mirror to your lips. And the last poem is more identity and more upbeat. Grandma Rosie on 2nd Street. A smell of cigarettes and butter. A railroad flat where rooms ran, 1, 2, 3, 4, each opening to the next like picture boxes in a comic strip. We slept in one big bed. Mornings I studied the back of her neck. Black curls peeked out from under gray hair. Breasts sailed to her waist. There was mystery in her great belly, the soft flap of her upper arms, her undergarments, long undershirt, and over it a pink corset with 2 rows of hooks to catch long laces threaded back and forth. It's been 60 years or more, but I could still feel my arms around her body, hugging her corset's stiff bones and her scent of soap mixed with a sour tinge of mothballs. Jews say the dead live in our memories, so I gave my daughter my grandmother's name, a middle name, Rose, a name between first and last, like a pause between the world of childhood and all the rest that follow, or the space between the new world and the old, to remember Rosie, who traveled from Zlochev to Danzig and onto a ship across the Atlantic to New York, where she married and then divorced, raised her children alone, worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3, posed for her photo in Atlantic City, tasted egg rolls in Chinatown, forgot her troubles at the movies every week. And when I woke crying in the night, she answered, "My Shayna Maidala, why cry when you can laugh?" Thank you.
So Diamond Matthew is a Brooklyn-based multidisciplinary artist whose work centers culture, truth-telling, introspection, love, and community connection. Through poetry and visual art, she creates space for reflection, cultural pride, and honest conversation. Diamond is the author of the poetry collections Rosewater, Umber, and Flatbush Introvert. Oh, I love that title. Her artwork and creative projects can be found on Instagram at diamond.matthew_poet. And so with a round of applause, let's welcome Diamond.
Hi, everyone. I just want to share 2 poems that lend to my Afro-Caribbean heritage. And I'm going to start with the first one. It's called Granddaughter of the Camboulet. Oh, I also just want to add that the poems do include a little bit of AAVE and Caribbean phrases. But it's a little bit leaning towards spoken word, but also traditional poetry. Victory that's more sweeter than sugar cake. I am the granddaughter of the Camboulet. The hand on my hip, the jump and wave. The jump out if you think you're brave. Oversoak the black cake, wine till my waist ache. Faloma ding, ding, ding. Nama lama ding. Good gal and her vibe sacred. Good gal and her right sacred. Good gal and her light sacred. Beat the boboli till it break on a Good Friday. Cross buns from Allen's Bakery on a Easter Sunday. And don't forget how good God is and always pray. Pentecostal church raised. Thank God for the blocks of Flatbush that held me in embrace and kept me safe.
Somebody's Afro-Caribbean, lawless daughter is finally ready to take up space. I think it's safe to say that I'm taking the baton in the relay. I'm brawling and I'm boldface. Watch she, the undoubtable granddaughter of the Camboulet. Doubles pepper hot, my attitude hotter. Maybe you're forgetting I'm whose granddaughter? The sucked teeth, the steel pan beat, the bottle and spoon in perfect harmony, the chipping up the road in colorful carnival costumes in the blazing heat, poor raising, adorned in beautiful rhinestones and feathers from head to feet, Nile and pool sailing with the glass boat revealing the wonders of the Tobago Sea to me. My culture makes me complete. Tut bagay, I am the granddaughter. Freedom is due to me. Overcoming isn't new to me. My words, my nerve, don't curve. They reach to achieve what I deserve. I've been writing long time, but it's my hand to collect like Susu dispersed. First generation American, but I'd be lying if I said these weren't the customs I was awarded first. Coconut water to quench my thirst. Seawater is a healing nurse. And if I want to keep my money, never let the ground house my purse. If ever I'm in doubt and need assurance, I dig deep and submerge, then display my wings and sing out louder than a hummingbird. I let my lips purse and say, I am an African byproduct of Haiti, Trinidad, Kanawan, and Bekwai, inherently the royal granddaughter of the Camboulet. So this second poem I know off my head, so I'm just gonna go ahead and recite it. I'm just paying tribute to the neighborhood that I'm from, Flatbush. It's a Caribbean neighborhood in Brooklyn. So before the bloom, mid-cocoon, asks a pretty brown butterfly what kind of dreams lay inside of a caterpillar, knowing where their full potential lies. Hyper ambitious, so I hear it louder now. Spectating and hyper fictitious, the girl, she's hungry and determined, so they want to feed her lies. How you gonna tell a girl from my city to sit back and act moth-like? I've been said what I was gonna do, and I've graduated from the repetition of just talking. Fixated on keeping up with the ideas bubbling over in my head, so the only time I look up to notice my speed is when I stop to eat, and I can clearly see that I have superseded the pace of speed walking. I'ma go for mine, we all have time. God's willing, all of our lives are gonna be on the incline. But all I know are women who left the palm trees of the West Indies to chase their undying dreams, while they got acquainted, educated, and recalibrated for greatness. And how quickly did those same women become teachers, bankers, corporate leaders, and public speakers, touching six figures, bringing 1,000,000% to everything they deliver. Humbly, that's who raised me. Lost in Kingsborough, lick a Trini baby. The only time I touch lazy is if depression ever grazes me. And even then, I cry, I rest, I heal. Then I'm in my notebook, in my bag, in my computer, in the depths of my mind, and I invite you to visit sometime. Creativity dancing crazily throughout my body like waistlines on Eastern Parkway around Labor Day time. And all I hope is that I'm noted as a devoted Flatbush poet. And it's something like dreams bundled up under a hand-me-down green and black North Face as the girl makes a step towards Hawthorne and Rogers, a few blocks shy of Sterling Place. If I were to retrace my steps, there's a misunderstood girl on floor 3. Shy, loves a good cry and french fries, 6 foot -3. Writing odes in a Flatbush Railroad apartment, future a mystery. Even if it's cold, I bundle up the gold nearest my soul. I was told, never let the winter taint you, it's in my mold. Heartbreak sponge cake, soft-hearted. Depths of emotions of she, uncharted. But I'll never let my losses leave my dreams departed. Yeah, I'll never let my losses leave my dreams departed. Let my aspirations be the target without my dignity up for bargain. I'll never let any setback throw me off of the journey of which I started. Ain't nothing gonna make me raise up off the gifts I was born with. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Diamond, for the unapologetic and vivid and vibrant set of poems. Really fabulous. Next reader is Sin Grace Sylvie. And before they step on stage, They are a non-binary, neurodivergent poet and spiritual educator whose work explores mythology, sensuality, magic, and mysticism as pathways into the complexities of human desire and experience. They are the recipient of Epiphany Magazine's 2017 Short Nonfiction Prize and were recognized as a notable essayist in the Best American Essays of 2018. Their writing has appeared in Math Magazine, The Literary Review, Dewdrop, Open Secrets Magazine, The Rumpus, and elsewhere. Their debut chapbook, What Sharp Teeth, was published by Crying Heart Press in 2025. Sin is also the founder of Tarot Church, an educational movement dedicated to making tarot accessible across faith traditions. They live in Jersey City, New Jersey, sorry. With a round of applause, let's welcome Sin.
I want to give a huge thank you to Ophelia and the Accra board for having us here today, and also to Poets House for creating a home for poets. On June 20th, 1944, is a day of remembrance in Italy for Italian partisans and civilians who were shot by a Nazi firing squad in Fontedorce near Milan. The group had been arrested, tortured, and forced to walk 7 miles behind a banner that read, "All these liberators of Italy, or are they bandits?" We know this because one of those 43, Carlo Suzzi, fell with the first volley of execution fire, the bullet just grazing their head. Suzzi waited underneath the bodies of the fallen until nightfall, at which point he found shelter with the local partisan sympathizers. Carlo Suzzi soon rejoined the partisan fight against the Nazi regime under the nom de guerre 43. The fight for freedom resides within all of us, waiting to be taken up. And on today, the day after Juneteenth, it feels fitting for us to be here together, honoring the journeys of freedom and migration and identity. For what is migration if not a freedom story to define and preserve one's own sense of identity? Some of those stories are forced upon us, some of them necessary, all of them miracles. My own family's migration story is one built on survival. Both sides of my family came to America in the devastation of post-war Italy. My grandfather, leaving and settling in Philadelphia, left his wife and daughter behind for 2 years to build in a land that he had been born in but never lived before. And I often wonder what that trip must have been like for him into the unknown. This poem was inspired by a contemplation on that journey. It's called Ariele. When local means within reach, then everyone becomes extended family. All us mermaids on the tides of foreign shores, washed up over and over again. My own hauling brickwork disguised as bric-a-brac, a history of blistered backs, seasick in merchant ships for weeks, too poor to afford a steadying horizon line. When they arrived, they were not allowed inside the churches they found, so they built new ones. Across the street, grander replicas for the same God. They carried a hidden magic, laid it at the feet of society as offering to fit in more. Bit back a lilting tongue, dispelling an ancient rhyme for hard-tack consonants. The sacrifice for those yearning to be free. All we ask is your identity. Spirits of air that must trade their voice for legs, never speaking again. Of the beauty abandoned for a chance to flee a fate of poverty and persecution, crawling out of the water, vulnerable in their dignity to be born again, different, but magnificent shapes, wet backs glistening with new blessings waiting to be. See them now, in mind's eye. Their gills traded for gold, the siren song becomes silt, parched lips forcing a glad smile, whispering how lucky to have such an opportunity. How many among us here can say that they have started their life again from nothing, traversed an ocean of tears shed, pulling the tepid skein across a fluid body fled? What mythic telepathy must exist between two eyes that know the meaning? My father did not arrive to the United States until he was in his 20s. He was a sharecropper in Italy, working upon the same land that they lived upon, but not owning, being given just enough to be able to get by, but never enough to thrive. And when he came to this country, it was often with a state of confusion that he observed what he found here, particularly in the rules that govern. He came from a place where nothing was wasted if it could be eaten or provide nourishment. And this was a lesson that he impressed upon us even at a very early age. This poem is entitled, "My earliest memory of my father is a heart that he held in his hands. Bloody, massive, carved from the buck they had found on the highway. It glistened like a wet stone in his brown hands, and he moved it back and forth between his palms like a clumsy magician, trying to show me the trick of how it worked. His thick fingers made heavy with brickwork, easing themselves along the seams of that wet organ. In his tongue thickened by English, trying to explain to me the different chambers, but stumbling on the words, trying to reach for the Italian word before my mother intervening, somewhere in the distance with the correct one. He encouraged the children to touch the heart, but I was the only one brave enough. My sister running from the room in disgust, my brother too young to understand what he held, my other brother, still unborn somewhere. My tiny finger felt the dolphin skin sheen of that thing, and I giggled and drew my hand back. Satisfied, he grabbed the knife and started cutting, adding it to his scrambled eggs. Thank you. I have one more poem for you today. And again, I want to just thank Accra for having us today. And thank you to all of the incredible poets for sharing your stories today. It's been an honor to be on the stage with you. I would also like to invite you. I am a member of the Italian American Writers Association. And this Thursday, we will be having a Poetry Pride event where I will be hosting and having the honor to have the poets Ed Lent, Sandra Iannone, and Anthony Thomas Lombardi. I would also encourage you to join the Italian Writers Association that's open to every creed, nationality, and diaspora. All that is needed is a desire to be able to uplift the stories and allowing for Italians to be able to tell those stories from their own perspective. I'm actually named after both of my grandmothers, And it's been a very interesting experience having a name that is pre-owned. And even in the journey by which I've come to embody both of those names, I've made them my own. However, there was a time where someone once asked me my name, and I would not tell them what it was, but instead I created this poem. It's called The Namesake. Feminine variation. The mound bending Delos Isle, where she was born with her brighter brother. A white pearl sewn upon a black dress quite becoming, holy Roman epithet. Frigid daughter of Leto, shouldering a slim bow, she rounds upon the sacred doe, an ancient beast, forever chasing. Gray sister, the son of night, held aloft for all to see, a mirror shield reflecting that frozen serpent ever doomed to consume itself, murdered then born. Virtuous cynicism, mispronunciation of a Greek hero whose blood became the plant. Precious namesake of my grandmother, gray-eyed and blind, we pass a glass between us. One sharp tooth to tear and rend this gold yarn, we dye red. Wet cords passed mother to child while she watches, pacing, quiet, unfazed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sin, for the thought-provoking and captivating set of poems and great delivery. We have two more to go, who are Radia as well as Alexa, so, stay put. I'll introduce the next person, who is Radia. Radia Sharif is a writer whose relationship with storytelling began in childhood journals and has continued across poetry, fiction, songwriting, and essays. Her work often serves as a space for self-reflection, using personal experiences as a lens through which to examine broader social questions. Through her writing, Radia explores the connections between inner dialogue, identity, and the world around her. Her work can be found on Substack at Radia Writes! So with a round of applause, let's welcome Radia.
Hello, everybody. First, I would like to thank Accra and the Poets House community for having me. This is my first time reciting my work and speaking into a microphone in 7 years, so a little rusty, but I'll power through it. The first poem I wanted to read is called Explicit Memory. It was published in my college's literary magazine, and I wrote it in my junior year during a poetry workshop class. And it's about the struggles of growing up. When I first came up with this poem, I was actually 16 years old and kind of having these questions as a teenager, watching people older than me grow up. And now I have rewritten it so that it reflects how I feel about growing up as a recent college graduate. So it resonates with me a lot more. Okay, so the poem. Oh, the ache of forgetting your imaginary friend and her bubblegum pink curls, how mom plated your dinner in perfectly sized scoops, the rhythm of your best friend's knocks on your door, or whether you stood on the right or left for family photos. Oh, the pain of remembering your first love running his hands through your hair, how your mother told you to take smaller portions at the dinner table, the miles in between your house and your best friend's dorm room, or the empty space you once occupied in the picture frame. Do you remember the smell of dopamine, of your father's cologne filling the car on that family road trip to Lake George? Does the salt in the summer air hit the same when you throw your arms up in your friend's convertible? How tall were you and your little sister when you two waited in line for the wave swingers? Does she still recount the adrenaline rush over a plate of mac and cheese at the Thanksgiving table? Did you forget the taste of simplicity on your tongue, the last time chocolate tasted sweet, and when food didn't taste like numbers? Do you still eat food because you like to, or because it's the first meal you've had in days? How old were you when you cast your first big ballot? Do you still feel the cortisol in your face as your college friends discuss their politics? When did the line get drawn so clear yet so blurred between then and now? Do you remember the things you wish to let go of? Do you forget the things you try to cling on to? Does living like there's no tomorrow mean living like there's no yesterday either? And the second piece that I wanted to write is a memoir that I wrote back in February about Queensboro Plaza, my favorite train station. I was born and raised in Queens, New York, and though I do still have an identity as a Asian American, a Bengali American, and a Muslim, I feel like the one identity that's remained constant with me is the fact that I grew up a New Yorker. And I wrote this memoir essay based on an experience I had going to this train station. Today, I made a series of mistakes that led to a pleasant outcome after months of fearing any and all mistakes. I walked to the Uptown R&W train station by Madison Square Park and waited for an R, but accidentally boarded the W because it pulled into the station first. From there, I planned to amend that mistake by transferring to an R at 59th and Lex. One thing about those old technology W trains is that there are no automated announcements to tell you which stop you're at, so you have no freedom to stare into the nothingness for 20 minutes, especially if you've got headphones on. I forgot I was on the W, though, as I became wrapped up in the ambiance of the dingy yellow lighting and the vibrant orange seats. People have slept in these cars on their way to work and fell in love by the oddly arranged window seats. Iconic movie scenes were filmed, history made, sights seen, all under these dim lights, but these cars will cease to exist by the turn of the decade. By then, we'll be crammed into new tech trains with harsh LEDs that serve no real purpose than to inconvenience the homeless and the sleep-deprived. In the midst of my defeatist dwellings about modernization, my thoughts were cut short by a sudden surge of scenery on the windows. Tall buildings emerged before me, bridges and elevated train tracks cutting through the evening sky. I missed my stop, and you, reader, probably also forgot what stop I was supposed to get off at by now. I was now at Queensboro Plaza. Around this time, 1 year ago, none of this would have been a mistake. After class, I would catch up on homework, and if I had time to kill, I'd catch the W train on purpose and ride it all the way to that stop. From there, I'd explore. I went to the Chip City below the elevated station, the one that a friend of mine, a sister figure, used to work at when it was just called Chip. Her dad drove me, my sister, and her sister there to pick her up after her shift one day when I was 16. I had both of my earbuds in, though only the left one worked, and listened to older Ariana Grande albums the whole ride there. We must have been a couple of months out of the pandemic lockdown, and that was the farthest I've been from my house in a while. I was on the opposite side of Queens when I first learned what an essential worker was, and with the utmost seriousness, I believed that a college student working at a cookie store was one of them. Cookies are a social snack. Grandmas bake them for their little kids, who share them among their friends, and hosts welcome their guests with a tin of cookies and a cup of tea. My friend may reflect on that experience as just a small job she once had, but during a time where social interactions were sparse and people were going hungry, a cookie may have created one little thing to look forward to. Another day, I simply waited for the 7 train. In my freshman year of college, the entire Queens Boulevard line was down for a couple of weeks, and I had to go home using a different route. The weather was beginning to transition into spring, but my body had not yet acclimated to the sudden change. A scratch threatened to form in my throat. For each minute, I did not let out a thick cough, and my skin tingled at the confusion of feeling both hot and cold. My dad happened to be on Lower East Street when he called to ask me if I made it home yet, and to meet him there if I didn't. While I sat on the train, I was snacking on mango mochi, but the mango filling was so tart that it hurt to swallow with a sore throat. We drove through Western Queens once we finally met up, and he would occasionally tell me about what it was like to be in that area in the 90s. It sounded completely unrecognizable from the Long Island city that I am currently in love with. A lot more dangerous, and the train delays were even worse than I've ever had it. Most days, I would leave most days, I would leave the station and wait for a Jamaica-bound Q60 so I could charge my devices on the new technology buses, or practice drawing faces I had in my phone, or loop the new album by Eve or the Marias, or simply to take the scenic route. For 2 whole hours, I was free to do anything, and Queensboro Plaza was my playground. My reminiscence started to wind down at the end of last spring, when there was no more homework left to complete in the cafes of Jackson Avenue. Every day after that welcomed new misfortunes, and I grew afraid of ruining the fond memories I made for myself there. The last time I took the Q60 from Queensboro Plaza, I was texting people I'd never hear from again by the end of that summer. I stopped walking below the elevated lines after the night my friend held my hair back in a ponytail as I hunched over a bike path, puking out a 3-course Thai dinner and a drink I chugged down an hour before. I could already feel my depression following me into the places I loved the most, and I slowly started to abandon them because of it. Today's accidental stumble back into Queensboro Plaza could just be that, a happy accident. It could be a good omen on the holy month of Ramadan from a God that I haven't spoken to since the intrusive thoughts began. It could even be muscle memory begging me to do something relaxing for once. Whatever it was, it brought me back here. I was enjoying myself. The air was crisp, the elevated platforms were littered with New York City snow, and you can see the skyline left behind by the W train in the distance. But my body begged me to be miserable. A longing pain for normalcy panged against my chest as I paced across the platform. Anxiety rung in my ears each time a 7 Express train pulled into the station. They all skipped 74th and Broadway, and each one that arrived built more distance between me and getting home as soon as possible. Even the skyline started to look fake, like a solid sky with lazily drawn 2-dimensional buildings in the foreground, and I had to take pictures to make sure my mind was working. I don't belong here, I thought, and my heart knows that. But at that moment, my brain knew better. I was never going to be ready to come back so long as depression continued to overstay its visit, and so I was thrust back into familiar habits. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Radia, for transporting us into such a specific place and time, and for the transformative quality of your work. And last, but certainly not the least, of our readers is Alexa Brobe. So Alexa is a poet based in New York City. She serves on Segula's Poetry editorial board, correct me if I'm wrong, and was selected as an inaugural participant in the Center for Latter-day Saints Arts residency program. Her poetry has been nominated for a Pushcart Prize and has appeared in publications including Rattle, Brittle Paper, Weber, The Contemporary West, The Caribbean Quarterly, and Wayfair. Readers can find her work and updates on Facebook at Alexa Writes and on Instagram at alexa.writes. And with a round of applause, let's welcome Alexa.
Thank you to Accra Literacy and to Poets House for putting together this wonderful event. I'm going to share a few poems today. These poems were inspired by my childhood and my journey to New York. My father's from Ghana and my mother's from the Caribbean, but they met in the Netherlands, and that's where I spent the first 16 years of my life. And I spent a couple years in Ghana before moving to Utah and finally ending up in New York. So these poems will talk a little bit about family relationships across different cultures and moving across the world. This first poem is called Nkatsekwan. It means groundnut stew in Twi, and it's about how food can bond families. Nkatsekwan. Your father's love language is ignoring your protests while he piles on more and more rice. Your plate turns volcanic, spewing stew, sopping with palm oil. The spices stain your thumbs, melting your tongue numb. He calls you skeleton, scoops up another smoking serving. While you stuff yourself, he remembers his own father, slurping soup that singed his nostrils. He remembers watching the shared bowl pass from father to mother to oldest brother, until finally landing lukewarm in his lap. You lap up the last dregs, loosen your belt, remind yourself this is the way he knows to love you best, so tight you could collapse into yourself. And then continuing on with the theme of food, this next poem is called Cocoa Gozle. Their metaphor, my skin and my hair taste of cocoa. Real life, grandparents kiss under trees heavy with cocoa. As girls, we'd creak down the steep Dutch stairs, return with mugs bursting with creamy hot cocoa. Before the chocolate tasting date, I drench my skin in pale butter squeezed from fatty crushed cocoa. We tour the factory and learn in each room how sweetness is squeezed from fatty crushed cocoa. I think of the videos on my screen. Scythed children harvest but have never tasted rich cocoa. When we first moved home, everything sat strange on our tongues. It took months to adjust to the new, brittle cocoa. In another life, our family tree hugs the equator, so I learn to harvest pulpy, raw cocoa. In this life, the air-conditioned room, spirited debates about abstract supply chains of cocoa. This next one is also a ghazal. It's called Sand Ghazal. Beans burrowed in rice, wooden spoon in hand. My mother rolls bone in thick, clumpy sand. Sun slants through blinds, and my mother, alone, sees crests folding gently towards warm, hot sand. She'd swallow the ocean through 1,000 sips. God sleeps. There are things we can't demand. She left home smooth as water and fresh, but now her hair silvers with scattered white sand. For years, the conch on our counter, blushing shrimp swirl I could never understand. To have a home, one must have a country. She built a home outside a border of sand. Face floods and shoulder shakes, face hidden behind a curtain of hair, thick braided strand. 20 years, an ocean between front doors, an ocean too deep to crawl to the motherland. Through lines. This next poem, it's kind of hard to convey when I'm reading it out loud, but there's some portions of it that are like struck through, crossed out. So I'll pause for those. Through lines. My grandfather coughs phlegmy bile. He creaks open. When we first meet, we walk home clutching each other's palms. My father backstrokes the ocean. He shrugs his shoulders. He crawls into his mother's lap. 1. My grandfather's liver coughs phlegmy bile. He creaks open the oak box. When we first meet at his funeral, we close the cratered coffin and walk home clutching each other's palms. My father backstrokes the ocean all the way back to Ghana. He shrugs his shoulders back into his first last name. He crawls into his mother's lap, knowing she will never release him. 2. We don't know how to name our griefs. We pocket them deep inside our closets. If we don't label our wounds blue, they might learn to sew themselves shut. This next one is called The Forgotten Men. It's an ekphrastic poem after a piece by Maynard Dixon. The forgotten man's wife grew up drinking ketchup soup, packets diluted with water, tangy one-note sips. The man's father stuffed his son in a room full of Pepsi, then locked the door for 3 days. The man stayed inside and stuffed himself with soda, then stuffed the bottles with his own urine, and to this day he can't drink sweet things without gagging. He grew up to sit on a sidewalk, pockets empty and ragged, shoulders slumped, leg trembling, outstretched. The calluses on his hands soften. His palms itch for a toolbox. The forgotten man's daughter dilutes her milk with drops of water so it lasts longer. She duct tapes her backpack. She stuffs tissues inside her shoes, 2 sizes too big. She practices her excuses, struggles through slush on her bike, watches a church mom offer every other girl a ride. At home, they play board games in the dark and search for pennies in the sofa. Outside, people rush past the man like water over pebbles, banging their bags against his body. Instead of driving lessons, a physics book for Christmas. Wings instead of car keys. His daughter takes these and grows up to be inside skyscrapers and red brick libraries and multi-level art galleries and takes graduate school exams in a room with Dixon prints on the wall, but never forgets the men sitting on the sidewalk, limbs bent, atlas shoulders, and heads full of visions for their daughters. Okay, I have just 2 more poems to share. The first one is called Akoshua. All my people are blue, resting below the Atlantic's mint foam or on her coast. Our gods, too, were swallowed by the sky. In fallow graves they lie. My heritage is heavy on my shoulders, a name too thick for my tongue to carry. So let me carry your God. Make him mine, too. Let me borrow your clasped hands, your chafed knees. Here's $10 for an apple tree. Let's build new gardens, ripe and sweet. And then this last one is tentatively called Migrant Song. No matter my sandy eyes, no matter slouching home at midnight, backpack heavy, no matter nameless in a strange city, no matter the swishing tails skittering past me, no matter my parents across an ocean, no matter my sisters already fast asleep, when I wake, Madeline's buttery on the kitchen counter, half eaten by my husband, pineapple juice fresh in the fridge, somewhere on the block, plantains ripening, I tear into them with my mother's teeth, wipe my mother's hands on my favorite black dress. I think how this dark shroud has carried me to church and to work and to morning physical therapy. I think how at night, when life's loud beauties chirp awake and gnaw through leftovers thrust to the train tracks, there is always the bright option to gaze up at the round-cheeked cherubic moon, secure in the knowledge my faraway loved ones will cast their eyes up and see it too. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alexa, for the transcendence, for the transnational quality of your pieces and the just pure profundity of all of it. And just like that, we are coming to a close for this edition of the reading series. And just a few closing remarks to our readers. Thank you so much for trusting us and this audience with your work, your stories, and your vulnerability. Storytelling requires courage, and each of you has reminded us why stories poetry in different forms matter. Thank you for sharing your gifts with us today. To our attendees, thank you so much for showing up, for listening, for engaging, and helping us create a room filled with curiosity, empathy, and community. Events like this only happen because people like you believe that literature, storytelling, and arts deserve a place in our communities. Today's theme, migration, identity, belonging, has invited us to reflect on so many notions, including but not limited to where we come from, who we are, how we find connection with one another. And I hope that you leave here carrying a line, an image, a memory, or a feeling that stays with you long before this event. And once again, if today's event has compelled you and you'd like to support our mission, we invite you to visit accralit.com or find us on social media at accra_lit. Contribute educational materials, support our future library project, purchase merchandise, volunteer with us, or simply share our work with someone in your network. Every act of support helps us to reach more people and create more opportunities for learning and storytelling. And before we all leave, there are 2 QR code flyers at the entrance. And so if you can complete it, it's less than 2 minutes. We're just asking you for your feedback based on today's event, so we know, moving forward what to do, what not to do, that kind of thing. So thank you again so much for being a part of this community. Thank you for believing in the power of stories, and by stories I mean it in all iterations, be it poetry, fiction, nonfiction, all of the things. Thank you so much for supporting Accra Literacy. Have a wonderful afternoon, travel safe, and we look forward to seeing you next time. But for the readers, could you stay behind to take a photo or, something? And I think there's some food left in the back, so if you want to indulge, please feel free. Thank you so much. And if you can do the survey for us, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.